troubling story of Betsey Drake. Many of you guys may not know who this is, but many of you guys may know her as the wife of Cary Grant. Well, his ex-wife, right? I just did a video and Cary Grant and Betsey Drake came up as the woman who introduced him to the substance LSD. Today's video, though short and sweet, is going to dive into the life of Betsey Drake, who has a pretty interesting story. But we're going to talk about how she popularized the substance in Hollywood. She popularized it with a lot of popular figures, and she brought a lot of philosophies, different type of philosophies into Hollywood and amongst different scholars, right? And she was also rumored to have hypnotized Cary Grant into marrying her, but I'll leave that in the end for you guys to discuss. But first, hey friend, welcome to my channel karinealourde, where we break down and deep dive the most iconic star through history. If you're not yet subscribed, please be sure to do so, and if you're already subscribed, please turn on your notification bell so you never miss an upload. Now without further ado, let's get into this video. So Betsey Gordon Drake was born on the fateful day of September 11th, 1923 in the glamorous city of Paris. She was destined for a lifetime steeped in both privilege and turmoil. Her family lineage was nothing short of illustrious. Her grandfather was the mastermind behind the iconic Drake and Blackstone hotels in Chicago. She grew up wealthy with a nanny, maids, and all the things life had to offer. However, the stock market crash of 1929 turned their opulent world upside down, forcing the Drakes to return to Chicago. She had a tormented childhood, at one point living in a Chicago hotel suite with a nanny while her wealthy parents lived in another hotel. Betsey grew up not considering herself as pretty, but what she may lack in regularity of features, she more than makes up for in charm. If you don't feel that you're as pretty as you would like to be, Betsey says, double your efforts to make everything else count, end quote. In a 1957 interview with Lydia Lane, Betsey went on to talk about her philosophy on beauty. She stated, and I quote, "But in developing a charming personality, don't neglect the importance of appearance. You definitely handicap yourself when you are not carefully groomed." Betsey believes that looking your best at all times is a form of consideration for others, and there is nothing which gives the impression of untidiness faster than to be careless about your hair. Betsey brushes her hair at every opportunity, and to be sure that her bob is neat and shining at all times, she carries a purse-sized brush with her. People are inclined to accept you at your own valuation, so don't be discouraged if you are not born beautiful, end quote. As her parents' marriage crumbled, so too did her mother's mental health, so mental health ran in her family, leading to a devastating breakdown that left Betsey shuttling between relatives in Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Connecticut. It was amidst this chaos that she discovered her passion for acting, a lifeline that would ultimately lead her to the bright lights of Broadway. After dropping out of high school, she immersed herself in the vibrant New York theater scene, where she honed her craft through auditions, modeling gigs, and understudying until she caught the eye of legendary director Elia Kazan. Her talent soon attracted the attention of Hollywood producer Hal Wallace, but Betsey had no desire to be a Hollywood star. She came from a wealthy background, and people with status during those days looked down on Hollywood actresses and actors as S-workers and high-end call boys and call girls. She so desperately hated Hollywood that once she signed her contract, in a daring move that would raise eyebrows later on, she declared herself insane to escape, that stifling contract. A bold act of defiance against the glitz and glamour she despised. She would act out as if she lost her mind. Many stars do this today as well, like Disney stars, etc. Sometimes it's the only way to escape because the only other option was death or a huge lawsuit. Fate intervened in 1947 when Cary Grant, captivated by her charisma during a London performance, crossed paths with her on the RMS Queen Mary as they both returned to the U.S. Their instant chemistry blossomed into something deeper, leading Grant to champion her film career. Under his influence, Betsey signed with RKO Pictures and made her cinematic debut opposite Grant in the charming romantic comedy Every Girl Should Be Married. Here's the catch. Historians have speculated that Betsey Drake actually hypnotized Grant into falling in love with her and marrying her. We have seen this a lot in Hollywood. Many famous women have been accused of this. I did a video on Stacey Dash recently where her ex-husband accused her of the same thing, and we're going to dive deeper into that later on in this video. On a picturesque Christmas Day in 1949, Betsey and Carrie married in a discreet ceremony orchestrated by none other than Howard Hughes, Grant's enigmatic best man. The couple opted for a life away from prying eyes, exploring the realms of transcendentalism, mysticism, and yoga. Their philosophical pursuits were rich and layered. They believed in the inherent goodness of humanity, the transformative power of individual thought, and the divine experiences hidden in everyday life. Betsey's journey was not just about the pursuit of happiness, but also about seeking deeper spiritual truths through mysticism. This led her down the path of substance use, an intoxicating mix of ecstasy, altered states of consciousness, and a quest for ultimate insight. In essence, Betsey believed in the human power to be their own God and control their own destinies and minds. She believed that religion and government took that power away from people, and through mysticism, supernatural experiences, and LSD, you can get that power back. But unfortunately, this would not end too well for her. If in fact she did hypnotize Grant into marrying her, it backfired in the worst way, because anything you get through sorcery never lasts and always has its consequences. In the glamorous backdrop of Cannes in 1954, Betsey Drake stood proudly by her husband's side as he collaborated with the legendary Alfred Hitchcock on To Catch a Thief. But just 2 years later, while on the set of The Pride and the Passion in Spain, a shocking betrayal shattered her world. It was there that Betsey discovered her husband was falling for none other than the sultry co-star Sophia Loren. Infuriated and heartbroken, she fled before the tabloid frenzy could erupt, boarding the ill-fated Italian ship Andrea Doria. Tragically, the ship collided with another vessel off Nantucket, capsizing. Yet, in the chaos, she lost a staggering $200,000 worth of jewelry, and the psychological scars from the disaster ran deep. The aftermath of the Andrea Doria disaster was devastating. Actress Rosalind Russell recalled that Betsey simply stopped functioning, either as an actress or in any other field in which she had once been interested. But the drama did not end there. When Sophia Loren arrived in America to co-star with Cary Grant in the romantic comedy Houseboat in 1958, Betsey's heartbreak deepened. She had originally written the script envisioning herself in the lead alongside her husband, only to see it reworked with Loren stepping to take her place. She got really depressed. Betsey turned to a friend who introduced her to an avant-garde therapy involving a mysterious wonder drug, LSD. This groundbreaking treatment promised to unlock the subconscious and heal psychic wounds. With a daring spirit, she started to evangelize and get new converts for the substance. She told her husband Grant, playwright Clifford Odets, and violinist Joshua Heifetz during dinner, and I quote, "Tomorrow I'm going to take LSD." The trio was baffled, unaware of the storm brewing on the horizon. The following day, Betsey met with Dr. Mortimer Hartman at the Psychiatric Institute of Beverly Hills, who specialized in guided LSD therapy, charging $100 per session. The substance was legal within the confines of licensed treatment, so you could take it as long as you were under a licensed doctor. During her first session, she experienced a horrible crushing sensation, an awakening that would change her life forever. She recalled having supernatural experiences and wanted everyone to experience what she was experiencing. In her first session, she experienced the pain of her own birth. That's what that crushing sensation was. The substance allowed her to go back in time, so she said, to when she was like a child coming out her mother's womb, like viewing everything as it was happening. Cary Grant, intrigued yet anxious about the revelations, soon decided to go on his own journey with the substance, seeking to confront his own childhood traumas, because he had a lot of traumas and he wanted to go back in time too and deal and face with those things. Betsey gave credit to her newfound courage to the effects of LSD. One day while they were having breakfast, Grant asked her a question and she boldly responded, "Go F yourself," which sent him storming out of the room. That moment marked the true beginning of the end of their tumultuous marriage. The substance did make her more aggressive and assertive, but for Betsey, she didn't mind because for the longest, she felt like she didn't have a voice and was happy to not be able to stand up for herself. Looking back on her marriage, Drake said, and I quote, "All the women in my generation were brought up to believe that husbands, careers, and desires came first in every sense. I drank white wine because Carrie liked white wine, and I ate well-done roast beef, even though I hated well-done meat. The freedom to eat rare meat, drink red wine, and not watch television made up for the agony of the divorce," end quote. By 1962, after 13 years of marriage, the couple divorced. When whispers emerged suggesting that Grant was gay, Betsey famously responded that they were too busy making love for her to really know. Yet, she backtracked a little bit after reflecting on their relationship. She stated, "I lost myself trying to please him. He never really loved me," end quote, revealing that they tried to bond through seeking knowledge in yoga, Eastern religions, and LSD, though it proved pointless because it only made him even more cruel to her. And he did end up speaking, as we said in the video I did for him, that he regretted that season of his life. Though he appreciated her for introducing him to all this new knowledge, he regretted that season of his life because it made him even more of an a-hole, and he was like losing his mind, and he just had to go through a lot to get out of it. Comment below your thoughts on that. But she went on to continue to spread the word around Hollywood. Though she didn't want to be part of Hollywood, she had a lot of connections. She was super wealthy and people valued her. And then being with Cary Grant gave her a level of respect as well, because Cary Grant, as we stated in his video, was like the biggest deal in Hollywood at that time. So a lot of influence, and a lot of people converted to the philosophies that she was pushing out, which was still pretty new in America during those days. Despite their split, Betsey and Cary maintained a cordial relationship. While her experiences with LSD ignited a passion for mental health advocacy, she volunteered in hospitals for the mentally ill and later published a novel, eventually earning a master's in education and psychology from Harvard in the early 1970s. Grant credited Betsey with expanding his horizons beyond Hollywood, introducing him to hypnosis. In the years following their divorce, Betsey continued to explore the therapeutic benefits of LSD as a means to recover from her emotional wounds and the divorce. And Grant said hypnosis helped him to quit smoking and drinking. She never remarried or had children, and ultimately she spent her later years in London, where she passed away at the age of 92 on October 27th, 2015. She did live to be 94 years old, so let's end this on a positive note. Quick beauty secrets. How did she leave so long? I'll read her response to Lydia Lane on her and Cary Grant's secret to looking so fit. And this is an interview from 1957. Cary Grant looks so fit. This is Lydia Lane speaking, and remarkably young, that I inquired from Betsey to what he attributed this. She responded, "He has respect for his body, and that means he has respect for his diet because it's from food that we get vitality and health. We use the whole grain breads and soya bread spread on soya toast for breakfast. We steam our vegetables and try not to overcook anything. We drink skim milk, which has all the nourishment without adding extra calories, and we never have dessert except perhaps fruit and cheese, which we both prefer to heavy sweets. If for some reason I have to eat food that is overcooked or very rich, I don't feel as well afterwards. But I think vitality is the highest beauty secret. It is the cause of clear skin, sparkling eyes, and usually of enthusiasm," she concluded. Now, Betsey did not continue taking the substances in her later life. Of course, she got rid of that and she found that she had more peace in being single and not having children, and just dedicating her life to helping children that were traumatized through therapy and stuff. She found a lot of fulfillment with that, and I don't doubt that that is why she lived so long. I mean, she cut out all the toxicity around her and just kind of focused on herself and helping others heal. But that was a period of her life. I'm going to end on this note. Comment below, what are your thoughts? If anyone is bold enough to share their stories, if they've ever tried the substance LSD and like the whole thing of a lot of people saying they experience themselves giving birth, I cannot even imagine that. I find that very difficult to imagine. How can you explain that? But I'm curious to read what you guys have to say in the comments. Comment below who else would you guys like to see a video from, and if you haven't seen my Cary Grant video, it's a very interesting one. I have it pinned in the comments. Go check that out. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one.